Welcome into the Press Row Show, the number one rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi. It's been told to us, so we're just going to believe it, the number one show. And how do you start off the number one show? 2 games in 3 nights. Then with Anthony SanFilippo, you find him on Twitter at SanFilly. We got Kevin Kurtz down there on the end. He's back. He's now the first two-time appearance on the Press Row Show pregame. Kevin, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, good to be here. Hopefully I have a little bit more, knowledge to go on now from the first time.
That's right. We had you here opening night, right?
Yeah, was it? I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was opening home game. We had you here. And I got to apologize to everybody, before we get to you, Kev, I got to apologize to everybody for being 2 minutes late or 3 minutes late, whatever it was here.
Anthony's about to regret doing this.
No. So we get here, and we're in a new position. I don't know if anybody's noticed. We're moving up in the world. We are just to the left of the sports book, or to the right if you're coming off the elevator. You'll see us as you're walking up on the upper level. So we had a slightly new setup, and Russ gets here, realizes he didn't have a plug for his computer.
Yep.
So he sent the Flyers on an absolute scavenger hunt around the Wells Fargo Center to find the cord that he needed for the right generation MacBook that he has. And on top of that, if that wasn't enough, with 5 minutes to go before we started, he's like, I'm going to go to the restroom.
I had to pee.
5 minutes to go before we started.
In fairness,
you got to get him a bucket underneath his table.
I waited as long as I could for this wire, and then it did come, which was great. I didn't have the wire because I spent last night on the couch with my 10-month-old who's been spiking a fever for 3 days.
I feel bad.
I said you were going to feel bad.
I feel bad for Dino. I don't feel bad for Russ.
Anyway, I'm glad.
Let's talk Flyers.
I'm glad that we're here. A lot going on. The Flyers, as I mentioned, 2 games in 3 nights. And they're back at it against a Carolina team that they quite frankly went off on the road as part of that West Coast swing, and they came back. First game back on the East Coast was against Carolina in Carolina. They pulled off an upset win. One has to think that Carolina's going to have revenge on their mind. I wanted to know from you guys how you see this one playing out. We'll obviously dive into this in a bit, but do you think the Flyers can catch lightning in a bottle twice against a very talented Carolina team?
Kev?
Well, if you remember the last game, Carolina did what they do to a lot of teams, and they really controlled puck possession. And the Flyers had a whole ton of blocked shots. So you have to think that just because Carolina has been so good at that for so long, it's going to be the same type of game tonight. The Flyers are going to have to be really committed in their defensive zone. Now, I think as a Flyers fan, you're hopeful because we saw the contrast of the 2 games last week where they were really loose against the Rangers, especially in the first half of that game. They cleaned it up, and they were able to reset. And a lot of the guys talked about that in the last couple days is they held a 30-minute video session between games. They couldn't morning skate because it was second of a back-to-back. And they fixed the problems that they had in the Ranger game. And for me, that's a pretty hopeful sign. That's what good teams do. And I'm not going to say the Flyers are going to make the playoffs or anything like that, but it's definitely a sign, and Ryan Poehling called it a sign of maturity when you can do that. When your team, you can quickly fix your mistakes, and then you prevent these losing streaks from snowballing on you.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Kev. The one thing that I worry about is, whereas I was saying before the Rangers game that the way that they were playing, where they were throwing their bodies in front of 33 shots a game, it was not sustainable over the course of a full season. And I also say this, what they did to change the play against the Islanders on Saturday was smart because it tightened things up. They really buttoned up their defensive game. But I also think it's a very dangerous way to play hockey, to go into every game being defense first and be opportunistic on offense, because this is not a very skilled offensive team.
Right.
The reason that they've been able to score the goals that they've been able to score is because they've been gambling a little bit more, the defensemen, and pushing up ice. By staying back, I worry that, okay, maybe you're playing better defensively, but you don't score enough to win these games.
And Torts was very adamant about that point specifically, and he said, I'm not going to tell them to hang back.
Right.
But, it's that split second. And let's face it, the Rangers are a better team than the Islanders. The Rangers have been doing that to just about everybody so far this season. They lost to a better team, flat out, end of story. But they did come back, and against, the Islanders, in one way, it was a good opponent for them to face because they're not as skilled offensively as the Rangers. They're not as fast as most teams in the league. But they're a team that if you make 1 or 2 mistakes against them, it could cost you the game because they have the elite goaltending of Ilya Sorokin, which we saw. And the Flyers avoided making those big, glaring mistakes they made in the Rangers game, and the result was a shootout win. Shootout win.
Yeah, we have a few things that are really kind of important to talk about here today. We'll get to them. One of them was just put up on the chat by one of our listeners. But I want to get to something else first, and that's Noah Cates now being out for 6 to 8 weeks. Noah has not been playing to the level that he played last year, but he's also in a different role, I think, this year than he was a year ago. But I think it's going to still be, even though he hasn't played well, I think this is a bit of a loss for the Flyers. You've been over there at practice, you've been talking to Torts, you've been talking to the team. What's kind of the sense, and how do they feel like they're going to be able to replace him?
Well, I think one thing, it's a shame, the timing of it, because that was his best game probably against the Islanders. And not only that, you saw at the end of that Islanders game in regulation, Noah Cates was out there in a 0-0 game trying to protect that lead, and I think that's where he got hurt. If you go to my Twitter, I think I isolated the play, which probably is where he got hurt, kind of diving out to block a Noah Dobson shot. But I don't know how much.
Before you answer, because even though we have one of our people over in Finland who follows you said if you go to my Twitter, where can people find you on Twitter?
It's on KKURZ NHL.
There you go.
At KKURZ NHL.
All right, now go ahead, finish your point.
We'll see how much it hurts them, because as you said, he was not doing a whole lot offensively. And now Morgan Frost is going to have to do something offensively. He's going to have to do more offensively. And Torts has obviously said that for him, Morgan Frost has to play in a top 6 role to be effective. He's going to get a chance here. So we'll see. I'd like to see a little bit more out of Scott Lawton at some point too in that bottom 6. But it's kind of ironic because we've talked so much about Morgan Frost being out of the lineup. The Flyers have been so healthy, and I know they haven't been very healthy in years past.
Right.
Well, they've been pretty healthy to this point.
And
there's something that I think we need to get to.
I'm going to get to it in just a second. I know we're going to go. There's one other thing tied to this.
Go ahead.
I might be breaking news. I don't know. Did they announce who they're calling up to replace him yet?
I haven't heard anyone.
Okay. See?
Do you know?
So, I have a feeling. I've been talking to some people, and I think it's going to be Cooper Marody.
Okay.
I think they wanted to call up Ollie Licksell. He's been playing really well down there, but I think that the thought process is that with Licksell, you're looking at a kid that they really want to play a lot of minutes and keep him going. He's playing really well in the AHL.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that Marody, who's also played well, not as well as Licksell, he's not really that long-term prospect for them. And so I think it's likely that if you're going to bring a guy up to play third, fourth line minutes, it makes more sense that it's going to be Cooper Marody.
For sure.
So anyway, there you go. Am I breaking
Cooper
Marody? Is that breaking news?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what. Before anybody else on Twitter I can confirm Anthony's report.
Stop it.
That Cooper Marody will be called up.
I want to get definite, but I think that's where they're going.
I want to get to something that's been a hot button topic, and that's been John Tortorella and the way that he is going about trying to give some of these young guys playing time. We know that Torts isn't a tanking kind of guy. It's not in his DNA. This team has found a way to win in multiple different ways, often outworking the opponent. There was a quote that I think was, to be misquoting, right? But there was a quote that Tortorella gave a couple days ago about Igor Zamula.
Yep.
And the part that got cherry-picked on Twitter was that he said he's not going to play a young guy in a position that could affect the win-loss record. But that continued with a little bit more, with a little bit of added context that wasn't in there, namely that he doesn't want to put a guy in a position where it's going to hurt his development. However, we have people on Twitter and people who blog, and we love bloggers, but we have people who decided to cherry-pick 90% of that quote and leave off the part about the individual player's development, and then started writing things and fanning the flames as part of a narrative. Kevin, you've been around the team obviously a lot more than I have this season. Do you think, where do you fall on where Torts has gone in terms of development? And do you think that it's a fair assessment that he's looking not only at the win-loss record, but also at the development of the player?
And you were there for that, correct?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know anything about anyone cherry-picking quotes or whatever. I missed that. I mean, but one, be careful where you get your information. Number two, Torts has been pretty consistent when he says he wants to win games. He feels that players develop better in a winning environment. I don't think he's speaking just for himself when he says that. I think that's the organizational philosophy. They're not going to tank. I know Danny's been saying that since the summertime.
Right.
And obviously this isn't a roster where if you wanted to tank, you would have sold off a whole lot more parts, I think, in the summer. So, you know, it's interesting because tonight you're gonna have of all the defensemen out there tonight, there's only going to be one guy under the age of 27, and that's Cam York, I think, because Zamula's still out.
Right. Yep.
So, you know, defense is the hardest position to develop players, and we saw Emil Andre come up, and he was overwhelmed, and he was rightfully reassigned to the Phantoms. Zamula's been in and out. He's had his ups and downs. He's still here. He's going to get back in the lineup at some point. I forget what you asked.
Well, it's just this notion of he's, you know, captain win-loss, but the part that was cherry-picked out was that he said
cherry-picked,
that he doesn't want to put a guy in a position where it's going to adversely affect their development as a player.
Yeah, and you're not, you know, I think speaking to that, we can talk a little bit about Zamula in Vegas, right? He gets walked by Paul Cotter.
Yeah.
And he doesn't play for the rest of the game. Now, you know, on one hand, you could say, well, let's learn a little bit more about him and put him out there on his next shift to see how he responds to it. On the other hand, and this is the way they went, it was a 2-2 game, and Tort said, I owe it to the other guys on the team to try and win that game. And Zamula had made, in his view, Zamula had made some other errors throughout the course of that game. That was just the most glaring one. And you know, they almost sent it to overtime. Cam York turned it over in a bad spot, and they end up losing the game. But the point was, that was a game they were in position to win. That was, at the time, the best team in the league. Let's try to beat these guys. And you know, I don't think you can argue with that. You know, for the young guys on the bench, that's a pretty good message. Is we're in this game. Let's try to get the 2 points.
All right, Kev, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. And this is not meant to be a trick question. I want you to answer it. In all honesty, I want you to answer it very flatly. Why does the American Hockey League exist?
To develop players for the National Hockey League.
Okay. So should players be developing at National Hockey League level?
No.
Right. They should be at a certain point that is, you say, their baseline is you're an NHL player.
Right.
If you're going to stay up here. You're an NHL player, and you're going to stay, and you're going to. I mean, you might get better in the NHL. Okay, but you still need that baseline.
Right.
Okay. If you're not playing to that baseline, then you don't need to be in the lineup because you're not going to get better. And so right now, Igor Zamula he's had games where he's been above it.
Yeah.
But he's played below his baseline at the NHL level. And that's why he's been in and out of the lineup. And that's why they're saying, when he's saying that you're not going to play a guy in a game that could affect the not just a win-loss, but also, as Russ is saying, the rest of the quote, where it could hurt his development.
Right.
That is absolutely the right thing to do for a player at that point in his career.
Yep.
If he was better than his baseline and being, you know, pulled back and forth, then you can sit there and go, okay, maybe it's a little questionable, right? Or maybe it's very questionable. But if you're not playing up to that very bottom, that bare minimum standard that you need to be an NHL player, which, by the way, is a excellent player. I mean, you're one of the best players in the world if you are an NHL caliber player. If you're not at that standard, then you cannot play with regularity. And so this is not about Torts hurting the team by any stretch of the imagination. I've been having an argument and a debate with a guy on Twitter for 3 days.
Oh, God, why do you do that?
I finally stopped today.
He's a glutton for punishment.
I finally stopped today. Because it's to the point where you got to understand where things are. Yes, it is a rebuild.
Yeah.
Okay? But in a rebuild, you need to think of the players, and you want the players to be playing a certain way and a certain style for an extended period, because that's where it has to start. You have to start by playing winning hockey. You cannot get used to playing bad hockey, making mistakes over and over and over again.
Because that's where you build bad habits. And the people I think a lot of times who are screaming with pitchforks and flames are the same people who complained time and time again that Ivan Provorov didn't develop into the #1 defenseman they thought he was going to be, that Travis Sanheim's development was stunted, that Phil Myers didn't develop at the rate that they expected him to, that Travis Konechny didn't become the lethal, first-line wing they expected him to be.
Well,
all the guys that Hextall kind of sold the fans on being the next great, they lost a lot of games. They built horrible habits. Vino talked about it, I think, when he was on our show a couple of years ago, about part of the blank slate that he gave to the players at that point was having to figure out what they knew how to do well and what they didn't know how to do well. And a lot of that was because they learned bad technique and they lost a lot. And when you lose, you build horrible habits because there's no expectation that you're going to win or have to make winning plays.
Well, that's what Keith Jones has said, that, when the first time I talked to him at the preseason opener in New Jersey, I did a Q&A with him, and I asked him about why did you identify player development as an area in the organization you wanted to revamp? And he said, we want to prevent the leveling, and I'm paraphrasing, we want to prevent the leveling off of players at the NHL level, where they would come up, they'd level off, they'd sort of flatline, and then they'd go, and they wouldn't improve. They wouldn't take that next step. So, we'll see if it works. Obviously, it's in the early stages here, but they bring in Riley Armstrong, Nick Schultz, a handful of other guys, the Patrick Sharps, the John Leclercs. They're taking a much more, in Brent Flar's words, hands-on approach to player development. So, again, we'll see. It's just the opening stages of this, but that's going to determine whether this rebuild works or it doesn't. These players are going to develop or they're not. And they obviously, I think, need a few more in the pipeline.
Sure.
But, you want to prevent these guys from coming up and, as you said, either developing bad habits or just not taking the next step.
One other thing on this, guys.
Go ahead.
It's November.
It is.
It's November.
Yeah, it's a long year.
I mean, Zamola's going to play a lot of games.
Yeah.
I mean, how many guys who are not top-tier rookies or top-tier young players are playing 82 games in a season?
Not many.
No, it doesn't happen.
And we can see, we don't know how Danny's going to approach the lead up to the trade deadline. Is it going to be a situation where you're playing some veterans now, some Sean Walkers, some Ryan Palings that are playing pretty good hockey? You got to determine, do you want to keep them around? And if you don't want to keep them around,
right,
but they're playing well, you can still flip them for more assets. And then you would hope by January, February, March, there's some other guys down with the Phantoms or elsewhere that you could plug in to see what you got with it.
Well, and here's the other thing.
Thanks,
we need to have Kurz on.
I knew I liked you.
You cited two guys that are playing well. One guy that they acquired that they clearly meant to become a trade deadline asset is Mark Stahl.
Right.
He has not played well. Is he a terrific player at this stage in his career? Absolutely not. Is he the kind of guy that a playoff team will look for closer to the deadline to give them, if it's not the sixth guy, to be a reliable 7 that can go into the playoffs, that can be a leader, all of the intangible things? There are plenty of GMs in this league who look for that right before the postseason, and you will get a draft pick for him. But you can't get a draft pick for him if you don't play him. And I'm sorry, if your thought right now, if you're sitting at home angry and ready to throw something through the computer or your TV, however you're watching this, on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, thank you for joining us. But if you're angry about Mark Stahl getting some minutes now, chill, calm down. It's a rebuild, right? We all keep saying it's a rebuild. You people who are getting angry at home, what do you mean you people, are talking about how it's not fair that in a rebuild the kids aren't playing. A rebuild doesn't take 1 year. If that means that Igor Zamula is going to miss out on 15 games of NHL experience this year to try to get Mark Stahl some decent film and prove that he can be that guy in the playoffs, and that gets you an asset, the asset's more valuable to you going forward. There's no one in the organization right now who thinks Igor Zamula is going to develop into a top pair defenseman as it currently stands.
And it takes time for a guy like Stahl to come back and work himself back into game shape after an injury, right? I know he struggled his first couple games. We'll see how he does, but you got to leave him in there for a stretch to, just get reacclimated to the speed of the game again.
Yeah. So now that we've all become apologists, that'll be the next thing. I think that this was fair and balanced.
It is.
Assessment of the situation.
It was.
If we get to the trade deadline or past the trade deadline, and at that point, this team isn't playing the kids or isn't playing more of the kids, and they're trying to chase down the final playoff spot, then I will absolutely hold feet to the fire. Because at that point, I don't think that being a fringe playoff team is that beneficial relative to like what you want this thing to be long term.
Correct.
But in November, is that the thing worth getting upset about? No, it's the holidays. Go outside, touch some grass. It snowed this morning. Go catch a couple of snowflakes on your tongue. Like, find happier things to do. It's just a sport. It's just hockey. It's just a rebuilding season. In the meantime, buy some tickets, come out here, and take the elevator by section 121 all the way up. We are, as soon as you come off, you don't have to go into the Snow the Goalie Sportsbook anymore. We're right as soon as you get off the elevator.
We might want to pull our sponsorship if we're not in the Sportsbook
That's
anymore.
right. The Snow the Goalie Sportsbook is still over there, but we are not offering lines on tonight's game because we are protesting. Anyway, Kevin, thank you for coming back to the Press Row Show.
Yep.
Read Kevin in The Athletic. Once
Thank
again,
you.
K Kurz
NHL.
Right? On Twitter, X, whatever. Thanks again, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, so Anthony.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people in the questions,
Yeah,
and the comments, and the concerns, all right?
We have 6 minutes. Let's do this.
All right, so we can do, I want to go to something
9 minutes.
I want to go to something that was really happy. I want to see if I can pull it up here fast enough. But one of our longtime listeners, Matthew Bennick, he checked in a few games ago, and I didn't know how to approach it, and I saw that he had lost his job, and he has a family, and I felt really bad, and I was trying to figure out how do you go about bringing that up on the screen. Well, we can go with some positive news here. Matthew said he's been on the job hunt for a few months, finally got a job, feels so much relief. What a great time right before the holidays.
Way to go,
Congratulations,
Matt. Good
Matt.
job.
That's awesome.
Good job, bud. Good luck in the new gig.
All right, so that's good stuff. This is a question that we'll talk about this really quickly. There have been no updates on.
Well, there is an update.
Go ahead.
I'll give you and it's a very innocuous update. But I mean, you go back. I mean, just in case you guys weren't paying attention, there was about 2 weeks ago now an appeal of the Team Canada suspensions of the players from that team as far as being able to play for Canada in international hockey.
Yeah.
And so because that appeal is being heard, once that's heard, then the NHL can respond. But they have to wait for that appeal. When will that appeal happen?
Who knows? Who's to say? It's been a few years already. What's a few
They
more?
won't say when the appeal is going to take place. All we know is it's going to be a secret appeal. It's not going to be public. It's going to be 3 people who are going to be picked to be on like some kind of appeals board, and they're going to hear the appeals and make a ruling. So who those people are, how they're tied in, who the hell knows? But that Team Canada thing has been put on the back burner yet again.
William Gordon checks in over on Facebook. Had to buy ESPN Plus to watch my Flyers.
Yeah.
Boo-hoo, not right, guys.
And William, you're not wrong for the fact that, you know, it sucks for you that you have to pay money now to watch the games. I think we all have to just settle for this, though, because this is what it's going to be. I mean, keep in mind, NBC Sports Philly is probably going to be one of the last hangers-on of regional sports networks that are rights holders.
Probably.
How long that's going to be, whether it's another year, 2 years, we'll see. But you're not far off from everything being on a streaming service, and all Flyers games are going to be there. So
that's what we assume.
Yeah,
Peacock makes the most sense right now just because of the NBC connection.
Yeah.
Although, as I mentioned a bunch of times before, would it surprise me to see a streaming service like an Amazon Prime go after the NHL like Apple TV?
Yeah, no,
with MLS.
It wouldn't.
No,
I think Disney now buying out the rest of Hulu. I think that could be an opportunity because they have the contract already with ESPN.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if Disney Plus / ESPN tries to do it for.
The problem is that Disney has looked into divesting themselves of ESPN as a whole. Which could then also complicate this. But we'll see. I mean, inevitably, ladies and gents, it's going to change. The way that you watch sports is going to change, and we can all be upset about it together. But it is a reality.
Hey, did you, by the way, with 5 minutes before we get to the anthem, did you text Bundy for his prediction for the night?
I'll ask him right now.
blew it on Saturday night, and we were all at fault except for intern Andrew.
Intern Andrew had his score in, but we're not going to count it. I don't remember if it was right
He
or wrong.
lost. He got it with the wrong anyway.
We deduct 4 points.
I would have given it to him if he was right. Because,
I would not.
Well, no, I would have because
Would you?
He missed the first 8, 16, 17 games. So I would have given him one that we were missing, right?
Yeah.
So I would have given Andrew credit for it if he was right, but he wasn't. But yeah, you had a reunion. I was performing in a show. Bundy was at I think he was at his son's playoff football game, or some kind of football game, and we all missed it. And we were all, it was a total swing and a miss by us.
Yeah.
But we'll be back with our picks tonight.
Yeah, let's play
throw
this
them
game real
out.
quick. I want to throw this out here really quick because it is interesting. Just looking at some of the total goals lines across the league, most of the games were around 6.5 goals. This game is set at 6 at one of the sportsbooks that we will not name.
The Snow the Goalie sportsbook.
The Hurricanes are a -162 money line favorite.
Yeah.
Which puts them as one of the stronger favorites of the night. Certainly on the East, in the Eastern Conference. How do you see this one playing out? Do you think that the odds makers are right that Carolina will win this game?
I do. And this is what I was the one concern that I gave Kevin at the beginning, or I'm sure to you as well, but I was looking at Kevin when I said it, is that even though the Flyers are going to play a little bit more of a defensive style now, or at least they showed that they were against the Islanders, I think it's going to be even harder to score against Carolina. That's why I think that number is set slightly lower for a total. And I think it's probably right on the number. It's probably pretty close to accurate. Carolina doesn't score a lot. They've not been a great road team. They've actually just been mediocre to this point, probably a little disappointing when you think about what their aspirations are as a team in this league. But I think, this is the third time they're seeing the Flyers, and I think that, Rod Brindamore's a really good coach. I think that they'll figure it out a little bit. If I'm going to pick the final score tonight, I'm going to go Carolina 4, Flyers 2.
4-2. Is that going to be an empty netter, or is that going to come
that's a good question.
in the regular run of play? Where do you?
I don't know. Let's give it an empty netter. I think Carter Hart can play a good game tonight. Let's give it an empty netter.
Okay. For the record, the Hurricanes have won 3 of their last 4 games.
Yep.
Prior to that, they lost in regulation at home to your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers. Now, you know how I like to get a little bit dramatic as the music builds in the background, as we reach a crescendo. But I have to tell you, I don't see it tonight. I just don't.
I love how you're thinking about this.
No, it's because there's a
how
part
many
of me,
scores can you really pick?
Well, there are many. My thought is, are they going to get that empty netter or not? I could actually see a scenario here where the Flyers play pretty well and they lose 3-2.
Okay.
So I'll go 3-2.
3-2. All right.
I really wanted to go with 5-2, but I'm gonna go 3-2.
3-2. That's good.
They're gonna play like a pretty sound defensive game.
You know what your struggles are right now? The standings are, so Bundy and I have 11, you have 6, and intern Andrew has 2.
I need to go back and check this math. I don't think it's right.
1,000% correct. I checked it before I left the house.
I think you're fake news.
But here's the thing. You are so worried about getting that bonus point to try and catch up.
Well, that is important. That's 2 points.
I get it.
I can make up that 1 point.
Why don't you just worry about getting it right for once?
Well, that's what I'm doing. So I'm picking the Hurricanes.
Get it right, and then worry about getting your scores.
Hey, intern Andrew, what's your score? He says 3-2 Carolina. He took my score.
He had it. He had that beforehand because I asked him when you were in the bathroom before the show started.
We can take the same score. So he and I will pick up. We could theoretically both get 2 points.
But the problem is what I don't like about it is he can't get closer to you.
That's fine. Hold me closer, Tony Danza. By the way, we got some feedback on the karaoke that we did the other night.
Yes, we did.
We did. So might have to do more of it.
The Snow the Goalie karaoke thing is going to start.
The Snow the Goalie karaoke thing is going to be part of the tailgate, which is going to be amazing this spring. Although, don't forget, we are going to be doing some live events leading up to that. I'm very excited for the live events. I think that one of them that we've been talking about, especially recently, you and I, is going to be awesome. I do think that it's going to be a great night of food and hockey and
Yes.
beverages. It's going to be great. We'll have more information on that. to
Italian
come.
food. I
Listen,
can say that. It's
if
gonna
you're
be
watching
Italian
right
food.
now, hit that like button on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. If you're on Facebook, thank you. If you're on Twitter, make sure you find the stream on YouTube and join in the conversation. We'll have the Game Center up during the periods with all of the stats, and people like to go at it in the comments section during the game. So you can keep the conversation going there, get your questions, comments, and concerns, and we'll take a look at them before they drop the puck for the next period, right? And we'll get to it for the first intermission show. So for Ant, I'm Russ. Bundy will be with us for the first intermission. We'll talk to you all very, very soon. Let's see how this one plays out. yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi. And intern Andrew.
Andrew, you slide the camera just a hair towards Bundy.
Oh my gosh.
Bundy's like
Ant's over here, just
Bundy's a little half off the
taking
screen.
poor intern Andrew to task. Anyway,
There we go.
oh, you gotta love the peanuts. You love the peanuts?
Thanks, Andrew.
You love the Charlie Brown Christmas?
Do 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 do.
Yeah, should we do a little karaoke?
Nobody understands the message of that.
How can you? There is no karaoke to a song that has no lyrics.
No, we'll just sing on, dude.
Russ, you understand the message of that, or are you too young?
Of what?
Of the Charlie Brown Christmas.
What do you mean, do I understand the message?
You understand the...
It's the reason for the season.
That's right, Russ.
That's right.
That's
anyway.
right. We're in the season right now, too. Flyers hockey.
That's right.
What
And
do we
by the
got?
way, if you're out there watching right now on YouTube, thank you. If you're on Facebook, thank you. If you're on Twitter, we love you. Move over to youtube.com/@SnowTheGoalie or go on your TV, your tablet, your phone, pull up Snow the Goalie on your device, and join in the conversation in the comments section where things get lively. They also do on Facebook as well. All right, let's get into what happened there in the first period. Your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers losing after one. We all picked the Hurricanes to win. And as Bundy pointed out during that period, the game is over. So we can all just go home, go be with your families.
And why is that, Russ?
Because the Flyers have not won a game this season after giving up the first goal.
That's correct.
So, obviously trends are meant to be broken and changed and all that, but I would not be the one to go out on a limb and say that the Flyers are going to turn this one around. But Anthony, let me go to you. Is there something that you took out of that first period in a positive way that makes you think the Fly guys might get back into this one?
Carter Hart made a bunch of good saves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I mean, if you're looking for a positive, I thought you were going to throw it to me for the negative because I know that there's a negative I can get to.
I'm kind of with Anthony. I mean, Hart gave them again. He gave them a chance because it easily could have been 2-0. The shots on goal, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were 11-10.
Yeah.
For Carolina. They probably had 6 chances, I would think, like in terms of whether
It was 11-9.
11-9.
Close enough.
They had probably 5 or 6 really good chances. The Flyers, when they had it down, maybe had 1, maybe 2. That's not good enough, but Hart gave them a chance. So the Flyers now have to go in, take a deep breath, and just come out with their hair on fire for the beginning of the second period. Carolina was very good, but I just felt, Anthony, too, a little bit like they played well, but this is what we call a no-hitter. There's no physicality at all.
Yep.
And if the game keeps playing like that, I feel that suits the tempo of Carolina better than the Flyers.
Certainly suits them better. And Bundy, I said to you during that period, I said the only way the Flyers can hang around in this game with the way it's going is if Carter Hart shuts them out the rest of the way. If he gives up another goal, forget it. It's it. I'm not convinced. I originally said 4-2 was going to be the final. I'm not convinced that the Flyers can get 2 at this point. Maybe 2 is like the max in my mind.
Yeah, I gave them 1 tonight.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's, again, like they hadn't scored last game. They weren't unable to shoot out, and that doesn't really count in the stat sheet. But, as the season goes along, the space and the time on the ice becomes a lot harder to find. The thing is tonight, though, and I said this on pregame radio tonight, it feels like Rod Brindamore, for the first time, is kind of losing the grasp he's had on this team like he once did. That's not saying he's going anywhere or there's going to be wholesale changes, but I just feel like this team is not as well equipped to maybe have the long playoff run that they once did. And probably the reason for that, Anthony, is the shaky goaltending, and the carousel that they run through.
Yeah, and in all honesty, that's part of. To me, that's on ownership because they don't want to pay for it.
Right.
And so they're trying to win with chewing gum and duct tape in front of the goal line, in front of the net. So it's frustrating. Got to be frustrating for them. Their goal, though, Bundy. Go back and watch the play. Boy, did Morgan Frost look bad on that play. He comes back into the zone, and they're playing this defensive style. I talked about this with Kevin Kurz in pregame. And they're playing this style now, or they changed it up against the Islanders on Saturday, and they're doing it again here, where they're keeping an extra guy back. They're not really ramping up the forecheck. They're not telling the defenseman to jump up and be as gambling as much as they were previously. So they're keeping the third forward back, and Morgan Frost is the third guy back. and just kind of skates around aimlessly in the zone. Doesn't ever get involved in the play, ends up in no man's land, and you get a guy who's in the slot, unmarked, takes a shot and his own rebound with nobody near him. Now, Cam York also was kind of out of position on that play, so you could put it on him a little bit too.
Sanheim too.
Well, at least, but at least on the end of the play, Sanheim got to a guy.
Yes.
He gets to another player. But it was just a bad sequence all around.
That's the marriage, though, between the two defensemen and the center.
Yeah.
And if the center's not fully committed, your defense can look really bad. And that will work in reverse as well. The problem with Frost, and I listen, I've given him a lot of rope. Like a lot of, I've been very fair to him, and I thought that he got hosed with. When you make plays like that in the D zone, you're not helping your own cause.
No.
It flips back around. Like I'm saying, listen, there's not enough good offensive players in this league.
Right.
So yeah, he's a give and take guy because you want to take the offense, but you don't want to give away some of the plays he makes defensively because it hurts your team. That being said, that's a play right there where he was too soft. Again, didn't do anything with authority. And what happens? Carolina gets a tap in on the doorstep.
Yeah.
All right, so who's replacing Morgan Frost in the lineup next game?
Cooper Marody when they call him up.
There you go.
That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they run with him here. Just give him a chance, let him go.
They
But
have
I mean,
to.
He has 2 periods to erase that from towards his memory.
No, I'm not saying that he should get yanked because of that, but
Well, it doesn't matter if you think he should. There's the guy.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, he's got to play better. I mean, I'm sure he's being told. I'm sure he's being told. You're allowed. Torts will give you, a little bit of leeway on a mistake, but you can't just keep playing the same way over and over and over.
He'll give most players some leeway on a mistake. Morgan Frost is. Bundy, where's Morgan Frost's house? Where does he live?
on a set of wheels in a parking lot with a motorhome.
No, the French house.
Oh, the Chateau Bow Wow.
The Chateau Bow Wow.
But at this point, too, you can also call it an RV. I remember Clark told us that one year. Came down after the game, he goes, I suggest all of you get wheels on your homes. Because you're not going to be playing here.
So great. It's such a great impression. But I mean, that's something Bob would say, too, which is fantastic.
Hey, before we continue on with this merry band of misfit toys is our show. Want to remind people, because a lot of people have done this. I'm not lying. A lot of people have been buying merch, which we really do appreciate here at Snow the Goalie. If you head over to shop.snowthegoalie.com, you can find some great merch. Obviously, the Bundy Butte shirt. That has sold far more than I ever expected it to.
I knew it was a winner.
The Bundy Bomb shirt, we have sold Bundy Bomb shirts. They are being fulfilled right now. If you placed an order in the last 4 days, many of you have. It should be to you soon. I think you got an update. If not, you can email snowthegoalie@gmail.com. I'll get back to you. The Coots shirt is there. Obviously, we have the women's shirts as well. We have the Coots sweatshirt. I'm a Torts girl. I'm a Torts guy. We have all kinds of Mishkov Mania merch. Perfect,
really cool.
Perfect for this holiday season. On hats, on hoodies, everywhere. The old Snow the Goalie crest. Obviously, we have the stuff with the Snow the Goalie logo, the blue logo. We'll be adding the orange logo at some point here in the not too distant future. We've got the toques, the beanies. I've been told they're very warm. Best friend of mine bought one of the toques, was very proud of it, wore it disc golfing.
I was thinking last week we were talking about other stuff because we had like the one that we said, the good, the bad, the Bundy.
Yeah.
But what about like the good, the bad, the Anthony? The good, the bad, the Russ.
Ooh.
Like we could all take a slice of that.
Yeah, maybe we might. Maybe we'll do that. I can tell you that the good, the bad, and the Bundy will be up by the end of the week.
Yeah.
We're figuring out one final design thing on that. But I think this is probably the winner. And
you gotta get it to the top of the page.
I know. But the orange and the black, it's a great shirt.
I love that. That's an awesome shirt.
This is a shirt that you don't have to worry about it like selling out. We have a fulfillment center that is capable of handling all these orders. But the orange and the black, I think if you get it on that gray shirt,
it looks awesome.
It looks really great. There is a Snow the Goalie small logo on the back tag area, so You're repping the orange and black on the front. You're repping Snow the Goalie a little bit on the back.
Shirt.
That is a shirt that you should go out of your way to buy. If you want it on a hoodie, let me know, and I'll add it to the store on a hoodie. But for now, it's on there as both a men's shirt and also a women's cut shirt, which leads me to a really funny story of something that happened pregame. Unless, Ant, did you have a comment on the shirt that you wanted to get to?
No, Matt Bennick says it should be a sweatshirt.
All right, so I'll make it a sweatshirt.
Oh, no, he said it. No, he didn't. He said it's a sweet shirt.
That was a sweet shirt.
But he
I
also
just
said
looked
he wants I'm a Briere girl is a must for his wife.
There you go. I can tell you that it was the, what hoodie, Ant, did we see pregame? It was this one.
Yeah.
The premium hoodie.
Yeah.
So that price for a custom design hoodie is great. Anyway, Greg from Vineland, who checked in with the Bundy Butte shirt earlier this season, he bought one of those. It was a little bit small, and his wife opens up the coat, and she's got the Snow the Goalie logo hoodie on.
It's awesome.
And he looked at me and he goes, well, I guess I'm just going to have to buy another one.
There you go.
That's great.
So buy our stuff. Intern Andrew, there was a comment on there from our friend Kevin Kincaid that I think has to get pulled up.
Kinker?
Yes.
Where are we at?
It's on the
okay.
screen.
The most interesting man in the world.
Do you want me to read it? Should I read it like Kincaid?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, most podcasts are they're nothing burgers, but I don't always listen to hockey podcasts. But when I do, I listen to Snow the Goalie.
It's pretty good.
Thank you.
It's a pretty solid impression.
Thank you. I appreciate
Hey,
that.
Russ, let me ask you a question.
I love questions.
Bundy's got radio for pregame, so he's not up here with us
Yeah.
pregame. Postgame, I go downstairs.
Yes,
But you do the whole show.
I do.
You don't ever get a break.
I don't. I think that this would be a good time for that.
I think it'd be a good time for that.
Yeah.
Let's get intern Andrew. Can you switch places
Yeah,
with Russ?
intern Andrew, come here.
Switch places with Russ for a second.
We now introduce to you intern Andrew.
Folks,
There he is.
This is intern Andrew, who's now
There he
switched
is.
places with Russ.
You're now on one of the #1 rated podcasts this side of the Mississippi.
Well,
if I
hockey
had known
podcast.
you were going to bring me on camera, I would have shaved.
Well, we're bringing you on for.
This was not planned.
We're going to give you a full
it
hawk
was not.
after.
It was not planned by you, but it
Oh,
was planned by us.
So you conspired.
Yeah, this was. Yeah,
This does not
this
seem
was
like
a
a very
conspiracy.
above board.
Yeah. Well,
process.
here's the reason, intern Andrew.
Yeah.
Is because one of our regular viewers, I won't say who, let us know that yesterday was your birthday.
Dude.
Intern Andrew, happy birthday,
Dude, happy
intern
birthday.
Andrew.
Come
Look
on,
at
give me a little
that.
bit of this over here,
Look at
brother.
that, pal.
Look at that, buddy.
Happy birthday, my friend.
Just turned 21.
I think it's a little bit older than that.
I suspect I know what listener you're talking about. I think I came out of her.
So here's the thing. We've been doing like these karaoke's, right?
We do sing on the show.
Oh, look, your face. There it is.
I love you too, Mom.
It's
you know
Mom
what?
put a happy birthday.
Okay, my mom, who I'm almost sure is listening,
Yes.
at 81, would do the same thing as that lady.
Yes.
So do absolutely.
Yes.
Don't
Does
worry
your mom
about
at
it.
81 years old know how to work YouTube comments?
I love that. That's
Does she?
amazing.
I'm happy to show her if she wants me to.
So
That's
no,
pretty simple.
I don't know. So Russ, should we put intern Andrew on the spot to do some karaoke for to celebrate his own birthday? You got a recommendation for intern Andrew?
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah, make him sing happy
You want
birthday
me
to
to
himself.
sing myself happy birthday? That's what that's
Let's get it going.
Let's do it.
Happy birthday.
Go ahead, intern Andrew.
To me.
I'm not doing that.
You got to sing happy birthday to me.
All right, we'll sing it to you. We'll sing to you.
Okay.
Ready?
Happy
Don't feel obligated.
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, intern Andrew. Happy birthday to you.
That was beautiful. I appreciate that.
Oh, she said you could do Eminem or Will Smith.
Well, I don't think we're allowed to curse.
Well, you can't do Eminem, but, so you can do Will Smith. So why don't you do? Can you do the Fresh Prince theme? Can you do the Fresh Prince theme song?
Go do the recap of the Oscars and take it to Russ. Show us how you did that.
Mom's name.
What were you doing?
Wow, they.
Yeah, because everybody in the whole building's listening to you right now.
I actually kind of think that they are.
Can you do like the Fresh Prince?
All right.
Here, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. He's going to do it.
We're off the rails. Go.
Now, this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there and tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air.
Very good.
Yes.
Attaboy. Intern Andrew.
I love it, brother. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks
Now
for
here-
all you do.
Now, here are my thoughts
Yeah.
on the penalty kill.
I love it. I love it. Good stuff,
There,
man.
see, look at that. Mike Butts, we've gone off the rails, and he loves it. It's not a bad thing.
No, it's never a bad thing.
Do you guys really want 18 minutes of just hockey talk? We
Listen,
give you a
hold on,
9 or
pause.
10 solid.
Pause. There was a great comment here. There was another request. I just saw it. For us to do the Marilyn Monroe version of Happy Birthday to Intern Andrew. That's what Postgame is for. Hey, yo. All right, anyway. Intern Andrew, very happy birthday,
Happy birthday,
to you,
buddy.
fella.
Yes. Good stuff, my friend.
All right, let's get to some of the questions, comments, and concerns as we continue to go off the rails. Let's see if we can bring it back onto the rails here for a second as the people want hockey talk for the last 2 minutes before the period begins.
Need a start here, Russ. Like the Flyers got to have a good first 5 minutes here. And the next thing, as Anthony said, you can't give them a 2-spot lead in a game like this. You can give yourself a chance down 1. If they get down 2 goals, it's going to take an absolute, like, apocalyptic effort to get back in it. That's why the first 5 is so critical.
And how do you see this period playing out? Do you think the Flyers are going to be able to draw a level, or are they going to be competitive this period?
I think if the Flyers are going to make a push, and I think Bundy's right, it's going to be early in the period. If they continue to struggle to get out of their zone, which they struggled a lot to get out of their zone, even though they had those 9 shots, they struggled to get out of their own end a lot during that first period. If that continues, I really don't think that they're going to score much at all. I mean, it could be an ugly offensive game for them. So I think that the very beginning of this period is the most important thing of the period for the Flyers.
Bundy, you think about the same?
I am. And again, it's a critical start to this period because Carolina, I think, is going to issuing the same statement to their players with a 1-0 lead. Guys, if we get another goal, we'll get a 3rd and a 4th. But that's why, to me, the second period start is just critical in this game because Flyers are very much alive in it, albeit they had a kind of a rough first period. Not an awful one, just not the kind you want to have in a division game where you're trying to go out and get a win. So they need a good start here, and they need to continue doing a pretty good job on some of the Carolina star power.
Hey, don't forget, if you haven't done so already, if you're over on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. It costs nothing. You can ring the bell to make sure you never miss an episode of the regular Snow the Goalie podcast, of the Press Road Show, or the Morning After Recap, where we recap every away game the following morning. So big thank you to everybody who tuned in. We'll be back during the second intermission. Don't forget, we'll have the Game Center stats pulled up here during the second period, tracking, goals, shots, takeaways, giveaways, all that. And you can continue commenting and having a discussion with each other in the YouTube and Facebook comment section. So for Bundy, I'm Russ. We'll talk to you in the second intermission. Big thank you once again to everybody who checked in. We'll talk to you in a period. about to go from bad to worse. Right at the end.
And the deficit's still the same.
Yep, that's exactly right. Welcome into the Press Row Show. Second intermission, the #1 rated second intermission show this side of the Mississippi, emanating.
When will they measure beyond the Mississippi?
I don't know. We don't have the technology yet. The Press Row Show is emanating
from.
No, there's a word in between. The Press Row Show emanating live from the Wells Fargo Center, outside of the Snow the Goalie Sportsbook, right next to the Oregon. And the Flyers are losing 2-1 through 2 periods.
You got to check your watch for the score.
No, I got a notification. It's my bedtime coming up.
Oh, okay.
Is what my watch said.
Yeah.
And it's fitting because the Flyers look like they were half asleep that period. Not a great one. The Flyers do pick up a goal. Travis Konechny on a breakaway. The only way it seems like they're going to have a chance to score tonight is by stretching the play and getting a chance like that.
I'd just like to say first and foremost, how often can people say that they work in a space with a really big organ? I mean, we do. There's a huge organ next to us.
It is. That's one hell of an organ.
Back to hockey. Yes, that appears. You know what, too? It's funny, guys, because the Flyers, what's happening is when they're on the offense or the defensive zone, they're shoveling the puck up the boards. Are you okay, Russ?
It's just listen. It's a big piece of wood over there.
It is.
Continue.
It's very big. So instead of firing it up the boards, where Carolina is just pinching every play, there may be an opportunity to shoot a guy straight up the middle of the ice where that goal was scored. There's not a lot going on, right? Like in terms of offense, and it seems like the biggest plays they have are the ones where they can shoot a guy. Now, that's not safe hockey, but it's what might work.
You talked about this a couple games ago. Not on the air. We were just watching the game. It was against it was against the Rangers on Black Friday. And you were saying that the way that the offense has been going, that might be the only way to kind of jumpstart things. And at the same time, you also said, but it's very risky because if it doesn't work, oh no, it's coming right back at you real fast, right?
Absolutely, because that's the risk versus the reward. And as you know, Torts doesn't like mixing a lot of the high risk into his game, because what that does is it sets a bad precedent for the overall game he wants to play. That one there, though, I will say there was a block shot, and then Forster ended up shoveling it up to Konechny on the breakaway, and the Flyers connected beautifully. Great shot by Konechny. That made the game 1-1. And again, it goes back to that first goal in the first period where the Flyers are going to have to find a way again to come back for a second time in this hockey game. And the way it's going right now, there's not a ton of offense out there.
No, there's far from it. There's far from any offense out there. Even on Carolina's end. I mean, they're getting more chances. They're getting odd man rushes, which I know bothered Torts a lot against the Rangers. And you're seeing a bunch of them again, especially there in that second period.
Yep.
But they're not getting great shots. I look at it and say Carter made 2 or 3 really good saves in that period, but I thought the rest were kind of easy.
The problem is the premise for the 2-on-1 is there. Like they're available to Carolina. They just haven't capitalized as cleanly as they probably would like. I think they're too wide, to be honest with you, when they've come into the zone. And ideally, you want to have a little bit closer spacing for a 2-on-1. That makes it easier for the defenseman to stop it. But you're right. There's not been a ton of there's not been tons of offense. Power plays have created chances for Carolina. Flyers had a bad power play, and it looks like the Flyers at the end of that second period are going to have to again kill off the remnants of the Brink penalty, but also have a new one with Scott Lawton for 2 minutes. So they'll have 11 seconds of 5-on-3 against them.
Let's address the elephant in the room. We've had a lot of talks on this show and on the regular Snow the Goalie and on the morning after about centers on this team. Morgan Frost has garnered a lot of that attention by being in and out of the lineup. Noah Cates is a guy that we talked a lot about, not putting up points, kind of looking lost, dazed, and confused at times. And the one guy who was supposed to be reliable, and also the fact that Sean Couturier was coming off of serious back injuries and such, you didn't know what to expect. The guy that was supposed to be the constant and the guy who was supposed to be someone this team could rely on, and the guy who the team was offered a first-round pick for that the coach did not want to part with is Scott Lawton, who has not looked good, especially over the past week and a half. And he has not looked great in this game either. It is a concern. It has to be at some point a concern. What are you seeing from him of late?
He's gone through this before.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, and that's the only thing I was going to say, Russ, is that, you know, Scott Lawton is what he is, and he's a very good player. But he's had stretches in his past, in his career, even as recently as last season, where he just kind of he gets in a little bit of a funk, as a lot of players do, right? I mean, he's no different than a lot of other players. And I think he's in one of those right now. Because I think that the play that leads to, his mistake that leads to the second Carolina goal, it's not a play that he usually makes. I mean, he's usually much more heads-up type player, and it was a panic play, right, Bundy? I mean, he's right there, the puck's on his stick, he feels the pressure, and rather than just throw the puck to the corner where it's safe, he tries to clear it up through the middle. It hits Brendan Lemieux, falls down right behind Lawton. He's flat-footed, can't turn around. Lemieux's coming in that direction, regathers the puck and puts it past Carter Hart for the goal.
Yeah, just a lot of pandemonium and chaos. Like, so when there's chaos, you got to relieve the chaos, and every player, no matter what, when you're under pressure, that puck, believe me, when you're in the crease and you see it bobbling and wobbling and there's all kinds of bodies flying, you try to make the quickest play. But ultimately, Lotz has been around long enough now to know, just put the puck in the corner and rebattle it out again. Nothing good comes from throwing blind passes or clearing attempts up the middle.
Right.
Nothing ever good comes from it. But also, the way the Flyers were on that shift, I'm thinking to myself, he's trying to hammer it out and get an icing call, but everything went wrong with that decision.
Yeah, it was not a good decision. And there were other ones too. Like we were talking about it too, Bundy. Like it didn't lead to anything. It didn't lead to even a chance, like a real chance for Carolina. But Carolina's in the middle of a change.
Yep.
Rasmus Ristolainen's getting the puck on his own blue line. Now, yeah, he does have a fresh guy coming off of Carolina's bench coming on him, but there's nobody else around him, and he just bangs it really hard out of the zone. It becomes a quick turnover, and then Carolina's coming right back at you again.
Yeah.
Rather than hold that puck or make a little chip play or something else, it was a panic play, and there's a little bit too much of that, I think, in the Flyers game right now.
Yeah, and I think the one thing when you look at so when Torts goes back and watches, we haven't seen the third yet. When he goes back and watches the first 40 minutes, I think the thing he's going to be the most displeased with is the way that Carolina has repossessed the puck in this game. The Flyers have made it very easy for them, just giving it back to them instead of regrouping, making a hard play, a tape-to-tape pass, and allowing the forwards to break out. Too many times, even at the blue lines, the Flyers have made too many cute plays, and in return, Carolina's picking them off and going the other way. Now, they haven't been brutal chances against, but that being said, the Flyers don't want to put themselves behind the eight ball, and the turnovers in this game, repossessions by Carolina have been the story, to be honest with you.
So is it just a matter of the Flyers having to simplify things a bit here in the third?
Well, there's a fine line between doing that and giving. You don't want to sell the house out. They got 2 minutes they got to kill here again and 11 seconds for 5-on-3. They can't sell the farm in the first 10 minutes to try to get that goal. They've got to stay in the system that Torts has created for them. That being said, they're going to have to eventually find a way to try to dig in and get a second goal, or they're going to lose in regulation. So there's a lot going on here in the third period, but if I'm the Flyers, I don't think this is a type of hockey game early to trade chances in a game of river hockey. It's just not going to happen, and it will not work out for them. Again, Carolina's begging them to play that kind of game, and the Flyers can't allow that.
There's a comment here that's sure to trigger Ant. Hunter Mikko says, maybe controversial take. Let's roll back the defense to what it was during the 5-game winning streak. Obviously talking about personnel.
Is he saying that, or is he saying how they were playing?
I think that there's a little bit more about personnel here, but maybe you're right.
I mean, because they're playing a defense, they're trying to play back in their own end a little bit more. I think that's how I interpreted the comment. But even if you're saying, put Zamula in for Mark Stahl, do you honestly think that that's changing the offense right now?
Yes. I think it's going to change their expected goals tremendously.
Oh, I'm glad we didn't pull up the expected goal stat here today.
I totally forgot. I am so sorry to everyone out there. Hold on, what's the score right now? It's 2-1.
Yeah.
Well, as we now get to our lovely check-in with advanced analytics, which we do for 3 people who watch the show who care about that. While the Flyers may be losing 2-1, Money Puck's taking too long to load.
Because so many people are going there to try and see what the expected goals. They want to see what the expected goals are going to be.
All right, here we go. So the Flyers and the Canes expected. Oh, where are we at? I have bad news. The Flyers are also losing the expected goals battle in all situations, 2.12 to 1.3.
So the game is going as the expected goals we're expecting.
Well, close to it. I will tell you that the deserve to win-o-meter has it as a 50-50 game.
The deserve to win-o-meter.
Yeah.
I love that expected goals. That's my favorite one in all of analytics.
Hold on,
the game is going, according to expected goals, the game is going as expected.
And I will tell you.
It's just unbelievable.
I will tell you that the chance of the Flyers winning is 24.228%. Chance of the Canes winning is 75.772%.
So wait a second. So the chances of Carolina winning are 75-25.
Yes.
But the deserve to win is 50-50.
So
because both teams have put in a lot of effort
everybody
tonight,
gets a point tonight. Everyone gets a point.
You get a point. And you get a point.
You get a point.
Hey, Russ, I'm sitting there looking. I'm looking at the screen.
Yeah.
And what's that little color that's kind of behind us in the crowd today?
That's a great point, Anthony. Thanks for taking us from going off the rails to what really is the most important thing tonight. Tonight is Hockey Fights Cancer Night.
Great night. Yep.
At Wells Fargo Center, which we didn't talk about in the pregame or first intermission, but they gave, as they typically do, they gave the purple towels to fans in attendance. And I saw, I don't know how they did this. I guess it must have been markers at the entrance, but people have been writing their names on the towels. Remember there were a few years ago when they were doing the thing for Oscar Lindblom, they gave the it was like a laminated cutout.
Yeah.
And this is the towel. They're bigger. They've been showing those obviously during stoppages in play. It's been really nice. It's a meaningful and important night for a lot of people. So
yeah, the cool thing was they did that thing where they signed the 9-year-old kid today. They put a big announcement out, a press release. It was announced on Twitter on the Flyers website. But what must have been even better for that kid was they let him spend the entire first period behind the bench with Torts.
that's pretty cool.
Now, 2 things on that. One, it's incredibly cool, and it shows how far the game has come, right, Bundy, from back in the day, and it's a really good thing. But what do you think that kid is going to tell his parents he heard on that bench from Torts for 20 minutes in that first period?
I think Torts kept it clean. I would think so.
I would hope so.
I would have, and I would have. And so that's pretty much all you need to know.
Are the players doing it too? I mean,
yeah. You know what? Someone's got to say something. There's a little dude there. You can bite your tongue for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
he's like a great little dude,
hopefully
enjoying it. And you know what? The last thing you want to hear is a bunch of bombs on the bench.
That's exactly right.
Right.
Speaking of Bundy bombs.
Oh, we marketing again?
No, I'm just saying that if people were so inclined, we love the Bundy bomb. People love the Bundy bomb, and of course. You can go and get your merchandise with the Bundy Bomb on it. Bingo, bango, Bundy Bombo over at shop.snowthegoalie.com. Available on a men's shirt and a women's shirt, along with the Bundy Butte shirt, the Coots shirts, I'm a Torts girl, I'm a Torts guy, Mishkov Mania, the crest, the logo, and of course as well, really the star of the show, the orange and the black, which you can get in a men's tee or a women's tee. Fantastic shirt, arguably the best shirt in all of hockey. So head on over to shop.snowthegoalie.com.
Wait. So we have ratings on the best shirts in hockey, but we only can go so far that we can't go west of the Mississippi on the ratings?
We can confirm that the orange and the black shirt is the top hockey shirt anywhere.
Yeah, okay.
Anywhere. But the Press Row show has only been confirmed as the #1 pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi.
I doubt we're allowed to do it, but are we allowed to have guests come up here and can we sell merchandise in the Snow the Goalie Sportsbook?
I think we can. I don't see why not.
People want to set order. We got 100 shirts of different kinds. Can we sell them up here to our fans? I want to come get them.
QR code.
we could certainly like do a point of order. I don't know if we want to print them out and have them here. Maybe we could. Perhaps we could.
Just throwing ideas around to make it
I
easy.
love ideas. That's what we're here for. By the way, since we started going off the rails again, we picked up more viewers, which I think is really what people. Listen, can I say this without slandering other pregame, intermission, and postgame shows?
There are other pregame, intermission, and postgame shows?
Allegedly. I don't know. I don't watch them. But I will tell you that we like to have a lot of fun here. And while things are a little bit goofy tonight, Flyers are losing, can we sit here? Can we talk about the deserve to win a meter? Of course we could. By the way, fourth host Nancy over here, she did a bunch of the designs on the shirts, including the orange and black. So a lot of the shirts.
Shameless self-promotion.
A lot of the shirts that you see in the store were designed.
Hey,
great job,
by
Nancy.
Fantastic job. That's why she's my favorite. She's my favorite person on
My
on the
favorite
show.
joy.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
she's the best joy.
Yep.
What else we should be promoting is tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Bundy and I for sure.
Yes, I'm gonna go.
I'm not. Maybe Russ. We'll see.
Doubtful.
But Russ is on the doubtful list right now, but we'll see. But
Doubtful.
Bundy and I for sure, we will
Baby
be
fever.
at Puddler's Row, Conshohocken Brewing Company, for the release of well, it's already out, but it's a celebration of the release of the Keith Jones beer. But we will be broadcasting from there from 6 to 6:45. Tickets are $20. Come on out. There'll be several Flyers alums. Not just Bundy. I think your buddy John LeClaire will be there, and Bernie will be there. But also Danny Briere, Keith Jones, and Dan Hilfrey will also be there as well. I think Brad Marsh.
I actually wasn't sure I was going because my daughters play at St. John's in basketball tomorrow night in New York, but I saw the travel, Anthony, and I think I'm going to head to Conshohocken, right?
Well, it's technically Bridgeport.
Bridgeport. What's
Just
the name
past
of the place again?
Puddler's Row.
Okay.
Puddler's Row by Conshohocken Brewing Company.
Is
Okay.
intern Andrew going to be there?
Yes!
Intern Andrew will be there. You can go get a picture.
And we're going to be doing a show, right, Anthony?
For 45 minutes.
And listen, intern Andrew's going to be there, which means you can get him to rap. He doesn't have to abide by the no Bundy bomb rule.
Well, he'll do Eminem tomorrow.
He can do Eminem tomorrow at the, event.
You will get a Bundy bomb tomorrow, and we will maybe even have a guest or two.
Yeah, they're going to pop on.
Yeah,
we'll
good.
get a couple of those guys.
Well, they do a Bundy bomb.
Maybe.
We'll get
see.
them the Bundy bombing.
Bundy bombing.
That's what it's all about. We'll be back post-game. Bundy and I will be. Anthony will be down in the bowels of the Wells Fargo Center, where he'll either get an exclusive interview with a player, or he and intern Andrew will figure out the Torts press conference. So make sure you check back in here post-game. I will tell you, I have a number in my head of how many people I want to see post-game. We've been setting records post-game, which is great, and I want to see if we can break a certain number, and I'll let you know if we do. Do us a favor. Give us a like if you're over on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, give it a like. If you're on Twitter, make sure you join us later on YouTube or on Facebook. And be sure that you share this with some other Flyers fans in your life. So for Bundy, who's already peaced out, for Ant next to me,
It's my favorite
I'm
thing.
Russ. Let's go. We'll talk to you guys post-game. Well, well, well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Press Row Show, post-game show. You know what? Let's give it a little bit more energy.
How you going to do that, Rusty?
Welcome into the Press Row Show,
Yes, sir,
post-game
we're here.
show, the #1 rated pre-intermission and post-game show this side of the Mississippi, and soon to be confirmed, even on the other side of the Mississippi.
Yes.
We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we know that it is true. Anyway, we have a big moment. Now, the Flyers lost. We all know that. But a big thing happened tonight. By virtue of the Flyers winning 4-1, a score that was correctly predicted by Chris Therien,
Thank you very much.
Bundizzle. Bundy has now taken sole possession of first place in our official, unofficial predictions competition, which means that he has now jumped over Anthony SanFilippo. I believe this takes you to 12 points on the season. Ant is now at 11. It might be 13 and 12, but either way, you have now taken sole possession. You picked up 2 points. Ant picked up 1. I picked up 1. Intern Andrew picked up 1.
Everybody got the point tonight. So, I mean, again,
This was the Oprah Winfrey of games. Everyone gets a point.
So we will say this tonight, as me and Russ did it, as Anthony, our partner, went down to try to get either John Tortorella or a player. Usually we don't get a player after a loss. That is pretty much the way it's always gone, both myself as a player and a broadcaster. Just stick to those. So we're hoping to get Torts. But right now, me and Russ were just talking. We want to make this about you tonight, the fan. Let us know. Ask us something that is on your mind, a line combination question. There's a lot of good stuff right now. The thing for me, when you boil the Flyers down in a nutshell right now, they can't score. They are having an awful time scoring goals. And this isn't just – so last game was a 0. Thank God the Islanders couldn't score.
Yep.
Tonight was a 1. I predicted the 1 tonight. I just have a feeling they are going to have problems scoring goals. And especially when they don't get a lead, they struggle mightily getting back in it. This one they did get back in it. It took a block shot and Travis Konechny blowing the zone that led to the breakaway, which got them the goal. But this was not good. I mean, this was a game where I wanted to see a better start. We didn't see it, and as a result, the Flyers, for the most part, were playing catch up and chasing the hockey game. Even when it was tied, they were still chasing it. And I'll be honest with you, Russ, I don't think Carolina was a world beater tonight at all. This was a winnable hockey game. Their defense looks a little disheveled in some ways, and
they don't look like the same Carolina team.
They don't.
That's been a cup contender the last few seasons.
And even
something's off.
Yeah, a couple of former Flyers and guys that are very knowledgeable hockey players here in the building tonight. I asked them the same thing, and they felt the same thing I did. That kind of like there's a little slippage in Carolina where they don't feel like they're that team that can really get through anymore at the final stage. I don't think they are. They got their little bit of a mess in nets. I don't know if their depth will carry them in the playoffs with some of the grinders they have. But again, they came in here tonight and did a great job against the Flyers tonight. And Carolina's supposed to win this game. When we go back to the beginning, it's a rebuild. I hate going back and keep calling it that, but it is. We have to remember this is a game the Flyers were supposed to lose when you looked at the schedule beginning of the year.
Sure.
Little things are different now. Like you have a little bit more expectation, but at the same time, we have to remember what we are here, the Flyers. And also understanding that they cannot get stuck down in hockey games, especially early. They've not won one yet where the other teams had a lead in the game.
Yeah, and I want to take it back to Carolina a second if we can. You wonder, because there aren't that many somebody's just taking a selfie with Bundy. There aren't that many coaches that last as long as Rod Brind'Amour has lasted with Carolina. He's in his 6th season with the team. And I do think that there's eventually that question of the law of diminishing returns. And does a locker room start to tune out a coach? That's happened in Philadelphia consistently over the last few years. There has not been a coach with much longevity here in quite some time.
Yeah.
If you look at Brind'Amour's tenure with Carolina, if this were to continue, if the season were to continue at the current rate, or at least as of entering tonight, their 600 points percentage would be the second worst of his career with Carolina. and you look year over year, it's continued to dip. That points percentage has dipped every year since peaking in 2020, 2021. It's hard because when you look at it, you say there's still a talented team. He's still a talented coach, but something just looks off, and it might not be something that you can quantify with a stat. It might not be something that numbers can explain, but you just look on the eye test. Right now, they don't look like the same kind of team.
I'll be honest with you. I think the reason for it is they're just too cute of a team. They don't have a real bite from like a big dog. Like, they don't have a physical presence to their team. They make quick plays in and around players, but they just don't barrel over anybody. And you know what? That's what wins in the spring. It really does. And so I think that's what kind of Brendan Moore carried. And again, it's a great teammate, a guy I played a long time with, and I have a ton of respect for the job. Certainly as a player, a guy who won a cup there, and as a coach. But I always feel like he's a younger type of a younger coach, so he gels a little bit more with the players. Yeah. But a lot of turnover. When players come and go, and you try to find that semblance of what's going to work when you get to the playoffs, I just feel like they're not constructed properly to win 4 rounds over 2 months. I thought they might have a couple of years ago. I don't think that anymore.
Now, I do want to bring this up. We sat here and we gave you your flowers to start the game because you got the quote-unquote correct score here at 4-1. Intern Andrew and I had this game at 3-2, and I would like to posit that on expected goals, the score was 2.73 to 1.87. We know how to round up here. That's Snow the Goalie, the Only Flyers podcast. That rounds up. That rounds up to 3.
Goals?
Yeah, that rounds up to 3-2. So on expected goals, Intern Andrew and I got the perfect score. Now I would then say that perhaps we deserve to get a point for the correct score. Let us know in the comments. Should we go by the real goals or the expected? Anyway,
dude, who came up with this?
Expected goals.
Like, was there some kind of math class?
What was the funny thing though? Carolina hit a post in the third period.
That's an expected goal.
And I yelled, expected goal.
I the worst part about a stat like this is somebody invented it and people adopted it. Yeah. Like, they actually go back and read this.
Yep.
If you're a manager, like someone super high in an organization, you see expected goals, that might just be a recipe to feel better about your team.
Yep.
Wow.
Rob Greeley asks, is Torts going to have bag skate at the next practice? No one was skating tonight. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, they had a couple days off. They had Sunday off the ice, and they had Monday off the ice. So, it's Tuesday. So I guess Torts felt like they needed some rest. And I guess we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Probably were busy. I'm sure the guys probably, had a big game, winning the Island. And maybe some of them went over to the Eagles game.
Yeah. Mike Trout was at the game.
Mike Trout's at every Eagles game. He's never playing in the fall.
That's exactly
and he's a season ticket holder, so he will be at every Eagles game. I've seen him at every Eagles game for the last 10 years.
There you go.
Great fan. Good person.
Hey, there are a lot of questions, and we'll get to this one real quick. So Nick DeCristo says, felt like Hart's rebound control was bad tonight. Also killed him with a third goal. Third goal is horrendous. Like, there's no excuse for that puck getting through him like it did.
The third goal.
Not
a good goal.
No.
He made a lot of great saves in this game, but that was not a good goal.
Is that a play where he thinks he has it in the equipment and he just doesn't?
So what happened?
Or is that like he has a brain fart? He has a momentary lapse of concentration.
Can we use fart here on the?
I think we can say
show?
fart on the press row show.
We want to stick with the rules.
We do, because that's important.
It looked, Russ, like that puck hit the inside of his left leg, and when he sealed the pads, it slipped behind him.
Okay.
I mean, it was a weird shot too, because I think that play developed and it came down the left side of the ice, and I believe the goal scorer was a right-handed shot.
Yeah.
So, which is an odd angle for the goalie to have to deal with a puck, but still, that's a puck you have to stop. That can't go in.
This is a good question by Titan Flyer. When the Boston College season is over, will Cutter Gauthier be able to join the Phantoms or Flyers at all? We brought this up with Danny Briere on the Press Row Show pregame a few days ago, and he said that there is the possibility that we could see Cutter Gauthier playing with this team at the end of the season.
Well, he'll be done at Boston College, and as soon as he's done his season there, he should be here.
Yep.
I mean, that's just the way it is. So, I mean, that's usually, I mean, most guys would have left after their freshman year. I thought it was the right thing to go back for him and, go to the World Juniors and try to dominate that tournament. But that'll be a really, I think, again, and I've put a lot of pressure on guys, but if you're a star player, you have to dominate the best players in the World Juniors. That will give you a good idea of what that player will be in his career.
Not JD says they couldn't handle passes. They need to work on faceoffs and passing in practice. Faceoffs have been an issue all season. They have not had I would argue they haven't had a single player that has excelled on faceoffs this season.
Well, let's see. They couldn't handle the passes. Faceoffs were not good. I think they lost, was it like 53 to 47 tonight, Russ? Percent? That's a lot.
That sounds about right.
It was somewhere in there. Hard stats to kind of remember off the top of your head, but I think I saw it at one point. It was like 57 point or 52.8 or something like that. So round it off, 53 to 47. That's not good.
No.
I mean, anytime you're like right at 50% is excellent. If you're over 55, like some really good ones have been, that's a great number. But you don't want to sit and kind of chalking up to the fact that you're well under 50% on a night of the face-offs, because that's a possession game.
Yep.
And that's a compete area, and when you don't win those, that's losing a one-on-one battle.
Rob Greeley notes Torts doesn't want to talk about it, but the power play is nothing. I mean, if you go back a few games, there's a really quick post-game press conference, and Torts did not want to address the power play, but it is your job, right? Like it's your job as the coach to stand there and to answer the questions about the power play. I'm going to just throw this to you. Is there a chance, I don't think John Tortorella is going to make the change, but like at some point, given how disastrous the power play has been this season, do you consider making a change? Like if you say, we think the system is good and the players aren't executing it, or you say, we're trying to coach these players to do X, but they continue to fail to do X and they're doing Y instead, is there just a time where you make a change on that unit in terms of the guy who's creating the power play?
I don't
you
think
change that coach or no?
I don't think it's a personnel. I mean, they have what they have. Now, is it a personnel issue? Yes, it is. But they have these are the personnel that they're dealt. So you can't go out and get 5 new bodies tomorrow to put on a power play that have skill. They're trying to work on that at 5-on-5.
Do you change the power play coach?
Well, I mean, he's a coach here just beyond that. I mean, I've never been one to just fire a guy because his power plays been bad. You do that at the end of the year, but it's not working. I mean, this has gone on for time and time and time again, and the power play continues to not give the team an opportunity when they need one. Your power play is there, really. I always felt like, if your team's in a tie game and your power play gets called, I wasn't on it. Good thing. But, I mean, it's just true. I wasn't my specialty. I wasn't a power play guy. But when the power play got called upon, man, you were expecting that power play to do some work, right? To give you a chance to get a lead in the game or tie the game up again. Yeah. And it was a great feeling. When your power play stinks like this one, it's actually a deflating feeling because you know that it's going to be a real long shot for them to get a good opportunity to score a goal.
Brad Bantle checks in. What are the expected ratings for the pregame, intermission, and postgame show?
Russ has like some formula how he counts. I don't really know that. I just come and talk.
Of how we're the number one.
We are the number one.
Show.
I mean, again, it's like the number one ranked anthem in the league is here.
That is true.
Yes, so I mean, this is the number one ranked
pregame, intermission, postgame show.
And for Flyers hockey.
You do a great pregame show on the radio. This guy over here.
I do double dip. I double dip. My family's here. But Jason, is a good friend, so is Brian Smith, and it helps me tee up Flyers radio for the games. We also do a little stream.
A little streamage.
There's no bombs.
Little streamage.
It's like working with your great uncle and then coming down and working with your uncle.
I guess I'll take that.
Yeah, you're right.
I think that works.
Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
Let's see. Hunter Miko says the third goal described the game as a whole. It was like a microcosm of the game. I don't know. There's part of me that sits back and says, all right, for the most part, through 2 periods, were the Flyers outchanced? Yes. Like, did they give up the better scoring chances? Yes. But there is part of me that looked at how they played and thought, Carolina ends up hitting a couple of posts. This could have been a much more lopsided scoreline. But there were times where I thought, the Flyers are playing a decent enough game. They weren't getting their doors blown off. I think a lot of it also came down to Carolina not executing. But, still, when you come out of 2 periods and it's still 2-1 and you have a chance in your own in your barn, then like you've played well enough.
They did enough to give themselves a chance, and it was a tie game before Carolina took the lead again, and that's where the things kind of fell off for the Flyers. They just didn't get enough opportunities. Like someone said here, they scored 4 goals in their last 4 games, or whatever. It's just, it's awful. And they got shut out last game against the Islanders. They score one against. They got one against the Rangers. They got one here tonight, and I don't even remember the night before the Wednesday game. Where were they? It was the Islanders.
That was the Islanders. They had 2.
They had 2. So yeah, they've had an awful time scoring goals. I want to answer this question, Barry Schaefer, Loyola Lafayette. As long as there's not a Flyers game, I will be at any game in Easton, Pennsylvania to watch my daughters.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And his mom was great at Lafayette too. So
Barry's asking about an autograph.
I love the Patriot League. There's some great kids, and I'm proud of my girls. They will be there playing.
What a guy. What a guy over there. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. Now we're going to watch the language here because it is the Press Row Show. But John points out the inconsistency on fines and discipline in the league. I don't know if you saw the thing from the Rangers game, but the full swinging of the stick at the head of a
Trouba
of a player to only get fined, no suspension. Can you explain that? Because I can't.
He was a first-time offender, Russ.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, if you take a full chop, it's okay the first time. You get a free, literally, you had a free swing at the bat.
He legit looked like he was swinging for the fences.
He did look like he tried to chop the guy in the face, and that's something that you don't see a whole lot of.
No.
But it certainly is. I mean, that was crazy.
That's insane.
Crazy. We're still waiting for Torts here, and if he's not here in the next 5 minutes,
then we're just going
to pull the plug and
we'll bail on Torts.
We have our regular show sometime this week, right?
I think so.
Me and Anthony, so we are tomorrow night. We're going to be doing.
I'm thinking that tomorrow might end up being the regular show.
Yeah, I think so. Because we're, I talked to.
It'll be the Conshohocken Brewing event.
Talk
to the Jonesy beer.
Yep.
Glenn McNow's been arranging the event. He's been tweeting about it. He's been putting it on the Facebook. Should be a great time. You guys are going to be doing the show. I probably will not be there.
I will be there because, it's going to be pretty cool. I know I talked to my old roommate and teammate of many years, John LeClaire. He said he might even come on with us. I think he's nervous about this show.
Wow. Why do you
why don't you come on? He's like, why would you come on the Snow League? Yeah, just come on. He's like, well, what are we going to talk about? I said our playing days together and all the good times we had. He goes, I'm definitely not coming on.
He's afraid. Why is he afraid?
He's scared.
John LeClaire is afraid.
He's a little bit scared of Snow the Goalie.
More like John LeScared. John LeScared. He's
gonna have to. He's gonna have to come on tomorrow.
He's gonna have
to,
especially if he's there. We'll get intern Andrew. We'll send intern Andrew to tie him to the chair. I think it's the only thing that we can do. Oh, there you go. So maybe that was who came over here and did the selfie before. If you ever come up to outside the Snow the Goalie Sportsbook for the press tour, I think Torts is here. Let's go to Torts.
Okay.
Talked about the lack of quality chances as being a big reason for it. Is that just speak to the flatness, or is that something about the execution of what you're doing in the opposite zone?
I'm not spending too much time with it. We haven't had many of these. We're going to get on the ice tomorrow, get a quick practice, and get ready for our next game. There's no sense of breaking this one down.
Does it get frustrating for you with having like the game against the Rangers and then you have the 1-0
It's the league. That's the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be for us. I've said that.
We'll work on that. So
we're going to bring it back here because, and you know how much I hate to throw Anthony under the bus.
But let's do that.
Anthony doesn't have his microphone on, and that caused us a problem here where we were unable to hear John Tortorella.
Okay, I can imagine what he said.
Go ahead. What do you think he said?
Certainly the biggest thing was a repossession by Carolina. I'm almost guessing. Like, we turned too many pucks over, didn't put them in good spots. And I think ultimately that kind of hurt what the Flyers' plan was in this game. They were not good at any of the lines with puck discipline, puck support, and I just thought they got caught on their heels too many times in this game. And I'm sure that's what Torts is going to say. Maybe singling out some players as well. But you know what? Nobody played well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who played well in this game. Nobody you could say had an outstanding game, and it's a shame that we lost because of that guy. No, that didn't exist.
I agree.
All right, Russ.
I kind of feel like it's time to go. I mean,
I do.
I'm trying to figure out here. Intern Andrew is offering to unmute so that we could get some kind of audio here off of Torts. Do we care?
No, I don't. I really don't care because it's not going to say much unless
I'm pulling up the Torts video right now. There he is. He clearly is taking more questions than
hope his family
he
had fun
did.
because there's a lot of stuff that they're
Intern
going
Andrew
through,
is
the
muted.
kids, sisters, and all that. So
Tell you what we'll try to do. We'll try to get the
Yeah.
Snow the Goalie, some of the quotes if we can. If they're that good, we'll post them on our Snow the Goalie
I don't
account.
even think about the other stuff.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right, so tomorrow night, me and Anthony, and depends on Russ. He's got little one's not feeling great, which
Yeah,
is
multi-
always.
That's the worst. I like having kids. I do. I love my
Sure.
children. 4 kids. I think the longest that we've gone without multiple kids being sick is 4 days.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, they were all healthy for Thanksgiving.
I'll
but,
stay out of Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, dude, Chuck E. Cheese, though? Gotta love some Chuck E. Cheese.
I do. I've done it many times, but you're almost assured of one of the kids not feeling well 2 days.
Yeah,
There's a
that's fair.
lot of kids running around.
That's fair. All right, well, listen. Torts is still going. We'll have it fixed for next time. Everybody blame Anthony SanFilippo. You can tweet him your disdain for his technological shortcomings at AntSanPhilly. Bundy's on Twitter at Therien6. You can find me at Joy on Broad. You can find the show.
Tomorrow night, there'll be a live show at 6.
Yes, that's correct. We'll put it out on the social media. You can follow the show at Snow the Goalie on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and, of course, on YouTube, youtube.com/@SnowTheGoalie. If that's too complicated, just go on to your favorite device that has YouTube. It could be your cable box, it could be your TV, it could be your laptop, your tablet, your phone. Just type in Snow the Goalie. It'll take you to the channel. Subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss an episode. So for Bundy, for Ant-Man, Tort's still talking, and we're missing out on it. What a shame.
Oh, it's all good.
That might affect whether or not we are the #1 post-game show on the other side of the Mississippi. Like, there might be a show tonight out in, like, Arizona.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That does better because they pull up the video and the audio. Torts is done. It looks like, let's go to the, never mind. I was going to go to the media. They look like some hair's been blown back. And you can see Anthony right now has gone up to Intern Andrew to go, do you think it sounded okay? And Intern Andrew's going to say, no, they couldn't hear anything. He's going to go, Russ told me. Russ told me.
What did Russ do? I told Russ to do. It was Russ.
Russ told me to use that mic. He told me to use that mic.
It was Russ. What are we doing? I told Russ. Let's get up there. I can't wait to give Russ help.
Do you ever see the show Viva La Bam with Bam Margera?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Remember he had the Uncle Vito with a lazy eye? I'm not saying Ant doesn't have a lazy eye. But Vito would get upset and he'd go,
Remember they used to throw the firecrackers in the old man's bedroom at night?
Are you saying that we should do that to Ant?
That would be great.
That would be. We can conspire with his children.
Like, dude, I'm over 50. I still feel like I'm 15. Like, I would love to do that. I would throw firecrackers in his room and just run.
Covering the Philadelphia Flyers.
That's
Or
right.
Snow the Goalie in the Press Row Show. Makes you feel young at heart. Fairy tales can come true. They can happen to you.
All right, Russ.
If you're young at heart. All right. Time to go. We'll be back tomorrow with a
Love
show.
you guys.
And then, of course, on Thursday with the Press Row Show. So, for Ant, for Bundy, I'm Russ. Have a great night out there. Shake this one off. We'll be back at it again later this week.